Question is, how can you, during the design phase of your property before you go into refurbishment, introduce features that will make the management of that property a lot easier? Let's have a look. Number one is the installation of code locks. This is what you're seeing on the screen right here. Normally, you would install normal locks for which you need a key. And these locks, as you can see, actually this on the screen, it can have both. But for this type, you could develop a strategy where you only give the codes to the tenants and then you keep a key for yourself. And when there is a change of tenants, then you don't have to be chasing a key. Maybe the tenant took it with him or with her, didn't put it back, and you need now to need to get a copy. You can simply change the code if you wanted to. Or if the tenant, which is quite common, loses his or her key to the room, then again, you don't have to charge him to get a new key. So this on its own will help you a lot during the management of those properties. Now, if you are, for example, in a HMO, which is the scenario we are taking or talking about now here, these ones need to follow the fire regulations as well, because you will be installing fire doors. These need to be of the type that will be in line with those regulations. But once installed, then they might be more expensive, but they are going to decrease the amount of management that you have to do. The second strategy is to use master keys. What you're seeing on the screen is not a NAT. I'm not being paid to show this website. They just have a nice image I can use. And what you can see right there is that you could have a system by which one key can open all the doors in the property, meaning that you only, yourself as a landlord, as a manager, only need one key to open all the doors to all the rooms in the property. On top of that, that system could be designed so you have a key which you could give to your team to open only certain doors. Like you can see here, there is a submaster key that goes into group 1, another one group 3, and 4, etc. So you can design it as you need it, and that will reduce the amount of keys that you need to manage. The thing is, when you have several properties like I have, then you end up with a system by which you have multiple bunches of keys, and managing that is very difficult. It becomes really difficult, and if you're changing locks and you don't remember to change the keys that you have now as obsolete, then when you need that key or when you need to enter that area, it's going to be a lot difficult. Now, these master keys can add costs on top of your budget of about 2,000 or more because of the complexity. But if you have many rooms to manage, this potentially would be the way to go when you have a bigger portfolio. Maybe if your portfolio is small, then you can manage it as it is at the moment. But think about this when you go ahead and grow your portfolio, because this is going to save time for you, for your contractors, for your team, and therefore is going to keep costs low. Time is money. Number 3 of the 16 strategies is something simple yet very powerful, which you can see right here, which is corridor sockets. If you think about a complex property as a HMO with several rooms or even a hotel, you need to think about cleaning and maintenance. And if you install sockets and power points in the corridors or communal areas where the cleaners will normally be working, their life is going to be a lot easier. They won't be bothering any tenant to get some electricity, or maybe they don't have to use extension cords to get that power. That simple exercise of putting corridors and thinking about maintenance during the design phase before you start your refurbishment is going to save you a lot of time and money. 5 is to talk about storage space. Especially in the UK, finding properties, spacious properties for a reasonable amount of money is more difficult, every time more difficult. And that's why your rooms and the space that you basically rent to your tenant is always at a premium. Your tenants, depending on who they are, for example, if they are students, they will come with multiple pieces of luggage, and those are big in terms of occupying space. And they really, really appreciate if they have an extra space where they can put that storage space. So if in your design, you can allocate, like on this picture, maybe under the stairs, some space for them to put their luggage. It's going to be a lot easier. They're going to be happier in terms of enjoying the property because they will have more space to enjoy the rooms. And definitely that will make them stay longer. So think about that. Think about those spaces maybe in the loft, those which are under 1.5 meters, which can be used as a storage, storage, or even storage for the rooms themselves. The more storage you can show to a tenant, potentially the more you can charge for that room and the more comfortable they are going to be feeling, which is the whole point of all these designs and regulations that exist in the UK. Following with the scenario that we have in terms of a HMO with 6 bed and 6 bathrooms, due to the current regulations, you will have to install emergency lights. And an easy way to be able to maintain and check those emergency lights is to have this installed in your property, which is emergency lighting test facility or test points. The reason this is important is because an emergency light, unless you have this facility in place, the only way to see if it's working is a small green light it has on it or to turn the lights off. But if you want to test one by one, you can use these keys to switch them on or off and then test if they are working. You can do individual tests, and that will help you understand which ones are working and which ones are not. This is an important tip because this only really can be efficiently installed during the electrical installation of all the alarms and all the emergency lighting that go with a complex property. Strategy number 7 is about the location of your fuse board, which can go in hand with another strategy we'll discuss in a minute. But this picture that you can see on the screen is effectively a HMO we are building at the moment in Liverpool. And we had to bring this fuse board from a front room, which is going to become a tenant room. The reason we do that is because by having it in the corridor, pretty much at the entrance, we can manage it easier. We don't have to interrupt you. We don't have to bother the tenant to go and inspect it and do an RCD test or check that everything is working when ECR is being done, or when any other tests which require electricity are done, or any short circuits happen and then the fuses need to be checked. All that location of these fuse boards is very important, as well as the location of meters, gas meters, which are more expensive to move, but you could also think about centralizing those to make the management of the whole system a lot easier. Number 8 of these strategies is what I would say is a very important one, which is an electronic fire logbook. Following with the same scenario we are using, the 6-bed HMO, understanding that your team is doing the checks necessary, like the fire checks, like the alarm checks, and have all that information digitalized in a way you know what's due and you know where it's being done and everything is okay if something failed and then action needs to be taken. If you are away from that properties and you just have a paper fire book, then it's going to be more difficult. But by digitalizing all the process and having all this information, you can run these kind of dashboards that you have and that you can see here, and therefore do the management a lot easier. Remember, for many companies and many business, different types of businesses, not just the one with managed property, one of the top one where business wastes a lot of resources is looking for things, is having paper-based systems, and therefore having these sort of e-logs, electronic fire logbooks, helps a lot to that management. Number 9 of this 16-item strategy is a landlord cupboard. As you can see on this screen, is a space to organize and centralize things like the fuse board, things like the internet, and anything else, and even here, the thermostat. This door can be locked, and then you as a landlord or your team can have easy access to manage the services from here, and then nobody's going to be playing with those. Even things as dangerous as an electric fuse board, which people could tamper with. But that's another strategy you could consider in your design. Number 10 of this strategy is to, during your refurbishment, and obviously need to plan that on the design phase, is to install Ethernet cables or hardwired internet into the rooms. So in any case where there are Wi-Fi signal issues, which, for example, fire doors tend to interfere with those, then for the most important items like the laptop, if your tenant is working on a laptop, on a computer from home, then that internet is uninterrupted. It can be just connected, as you can see here in the picture, and there you go. You won't get complaints from your tenants. Number 11 of this strategy is imagine, or maybe remember if you already have properties, when you get a call that there is a leak in a bathroom, or there is a leak in a basin, or there is a leak somewhere else and needs to be fixed. Now, if the system is not designed correctly, you probably have to shut the water to the whole house to fix that single problem. Now, if you design ahead and install ahead a manifold plumbing system, like the one you see on the screen, where you have individual bulbs for different items in the house, so you can switch the water only to, for example, shower one in room 1 or the basin in that room, or you can shut only the bathroom in room 2 or only the bathroom in room 3. You get the idea. And you install something like this, then you'll have a lot more flexibility at the time of fixing a problem. Now, also, if a tenant has a serious leak in one area of their room, then that same tenant can be directed to say, okay, can you please go and close the valve in that room for that room in the cupboard? And then that way we will get somebody to come in 2-3 hours, and then only you will be affected, nobody else. That is a very, very good strategy to manage your properties. Strategy number 12 is for you to decide whether you want to use bathroom tiles for the wall or panels, as you can see on the screen right here. And the reason you would want to do that is because these panels you can see here, the ones on the wall, which is white and gray, which is kind of wants to mimic marble, these don't have any grout. They often come in very large sizes, decreasing the opportunity for water leaks in case the grout is not applied correctly, in case the bathroom has not been done properly. This increases or decreases the chances to have any leaks in the bathroom. And on the other hand, it's actually faster to install, but there is a downside that for some people, these wall panels look less expensive, less luxurious than wall panels. And in a way, it is true. But in the scenario we're talking about, where people are living in the property for 6 months or a year, they don't really mind. And then you can have an efficient designed bathroom, which also looks good if it's installed correctly, and then minimizing the amount of leaks, which again will complicate how you manage these properties. Strategy number 13 is a big difference between newly built houses and old houses in the UK. Old houses will have a very poor air extraction. New houses have permanent humidity extraction, which basically means there is a pump or a compressor like you see on the screen here, which is connected to piping, to conducts, which go to different areas in the houses, mainly the rooms and bathrooms in the rooms, communal bathrooms, kitchen, laundry room, and is continuously 24/7 extracting air, which goes up. These compressors are normally in the loft, and they take the air out through the fascia, through the lower part of the roof, and then replacing it with outside air, which is less humid, and therefore cleaning the house and keeping humidity down. This on its own avoids mold, avoids paint damage, avoids even health problems for the tenants, because tenants normally don't remember to open windows or to make the property breathe by opening the trickles, ventricles in the windows as well. So the whole property breathes. They don't remember about that and only complain when they see lots of mold behind the curtains or behind the cupboards. And therefore, planning for this, which can really only be done before the refurbishment, during the design phase, you need to cost it and you need to put it in there. And then during the first phase of the refurbishment of the property, then it can be installed. Now, the regulations, for example, for HMOs at the moment, they will only ask you to have extractors in the bathrooms which have 15 minutes delay, meaning somebody turns the light on the bathroom, the extractor turns on, and then once the light is turned off, then those extractors stay for 15 minutes. Now, many cheap builders will install for you the extractors, and they will just move the air from the bathroom inside the room or even inside the loft, but it's not really well extracted outside the property. And that's something you need to take into account. But if you want to invest in a system like this, especially for large properties, is going to keep your property dry, clean, and even is going to help people dry their clothing faster, because this thing, my house, for example, the one I live is new, has this, and everything gets dried really quickly because of this process. And the bigger the property is, the better, because it needs this extraction to be running. Properties are like people. They breathe all the time. They need to breathe. And if they don't, those properties are going to get sick. Number 14 of 16 is about insulation, noise insulation. The reason this is important is obvious. If you have 6 people who are not unrelated, who are not related in that property, then it's going to become more important they don't hear each other, or at least that the noise is minimized as much as possible through the walls, through the floors. And planning and making sure this is included into the budget that you get from your builders and from your team is very important. Now, bear in mind, and this is a tip, that when you get a very, very cheap budget from a builder, they will reduce prices where you cannot see that something is missing. And one of those would be here. Now, if you are creating properties much larger than 6 bedrooms, for example, 7, 8, 9, that requires a different size of design, and then for building control, they will come and measure how well insulated your property is. So that this goes along with the regulations that you need to get the certificates for approval. But bear in mind that decreasing the noise is going to decrease complaints and is going to make your life easier during the management of the property, which is the whole point for this video. Number 15 of our 16 strategies is for the kitchen. What you see on the screen is a property we are refurbishing at the moment. This, from the regulations, is actually not required, because this is going to be a 5-bed, 5-bathroom property. And for that size, you don't need a double cooking station. As you can see here, double fob and then double sink. 2 kitchens in one, really. But to make the life of the tenants a lot easier and to avoid conflicts and to avoid queues in the property, This is something that you could put in place to redesign the kitchen in a way which is a lot easier to use. Now, this is all about money. Yes, it's going to increase the cost of your property, of the refurbishment, but in the long term, it's going to make that management a lot easier. And more important, even more important, is the fact that your tenants will stay longer and will decrease the amount of void periods. And that's very critical for the profitability of your property. Now, last but not least is 16, strategy number 16. This is for the communal areas in a property like the one we are describing, to not use carpets because they're going to be really, really dirty in a very short period of time, and they're going to get damaged. That's the reason why they are called communal areas, because they just, the traffic is a lot higher than in other areas. Now, use vinyl tiles, which can look like the picture, many different styles. Use a good material so it lasts for a long time, but don't use carpets. And think about those areas in particular which they need to have a little bit more of a heavy duty sort of finish and durability, so those areas don't cost you more because they are used more during the life of the property. Now, I hope these 16 strategies will help you in your journey to make a property that is a lot easier to manage and hopefully more profitable. That's the whole name of the game. Now, if you want to know more about what we do, go to propertycashflow.co.uk. If you have properties in Liverpool and Wirral that you want managed, please let me know at info@propertycashflow.co.uk, info@propertycashflow.co.uk, and then we can start a conversation. Equally, if you need property sourcing in those areas and project management with the whole thing, a turnkey investment, also let us know. Send me a message to 07411904124 via WhatsApp, 07411904124 in WhatsApp, and I'll be happy to start a conversation from there. My name is Noel Cardona, and this is Property Cash Flow. Bye-bye.